Meccha Chameleon is a ridiculous game. It shouldn't work, yet it shattered 15 million sales in its first month, so I tried figuring out the secret behind its success. Oh, brother. Fundamentally, the game is a form of hide-and-seek, a game genre that is well explored, but with the added twist of painting. That's it. After so much hype, you'd honestly expect much more than this. We are talking about a game that surpassed Resident Evil Requiem and Forza Horizon 6 on Steam. And yes, it does have some interesting features, but this is as bare bones as it gets. In any given session, you either encounter a masterpiece, a work of art that challenges Van Gogh himself, or just a stupid spot. Bro, what is this shit? If given enough time and effort, you could literally become invisible. However, it is that simplicity that people adore, and while there are examples of more sophisticated projects gaining immense traction, be it through incredible storytelling or innovative mechanics, it is not a requirement for a game to be successful. But then, where does its success come from? More and more, we've noticed that these indie games tend to surge in player count. So why do games like Lethal Company, Peak, Schedule 1, hell, even a game about gambling, entice people? Well, I'd suggest we go back a few years. Yep, Among Us. I don't want to hear about it. If we think back on it, how much enjoyment came purely from the gameplay? Most of the memories we have of that time weren't created by incredible cinematics, nor immersive controls, but by the interactions we had with others, meeting different people, chatting with others, realizing one of your friends is secretly a pathological liar and that you can never trust a word of theirs. They're all moments that solidified the game's popularity. This was the formula to success, and Among Us capitalized on it. Now that we've identified our key component, how has it been implemented over time? Lethal Company struck a fine balance between comedy and horror, a style that Repo also adopted. The game itself wasn't particularly funny, but the interactions you'd have with your friends would certainly result in laughable moments. Bro, who took out the apparatus? Combining this with the game's natural creepy atmosphere led to what was an incredibly captivating experience. Another aspect that contributed significantly towards its growth was the modding community. There are thousands of mods, and I mean thousands, introducing new maps, enhancing sound effects, adding icons from different pop culture media, or even totally original concepts, all of which helped revamp the game, thus maintaining a fresh experience. Schedule 1 was indeed a game, but unlike Lethal Company, it leaned heavily towards a humorous tone. Adding groups of friends to the mix, you get a recipe for disaster. A good one at that. The gameplay loop could become slightly boring, with limited automation and a basically non-existent difficulty, so progression wasn't always the main focus. That's why the additional activities further benefited from group interactions. But clearly, it didn't try to establish itself as a strictly multiplayer experience, meaning solo players could still have an enjoyable experience, albeit a little less chaotic. Peak was an absolute masterpiece. It crafted an incredible scenario for a cooperative experience. Nearly every aspect of the game took into consideration the importance of teamwork. Overcoming a difficult path, saving your friend from falling, or simply relaxing with your fellow scouts by the campfire. Although you had some teammates that were less helpful than others, there was a constant sense of combined effort. The game also implemented randomness and variability perfectly. You play a different map every 24 hours, each with their own routes, hazards, and items. A single playthrough could last your group an entire evening, or just an hour. And it was that unpredictability of your group's journey that kept the game so irresistible. So, how has Meccha Chameleon innovated on these social interactions? Well, it kind of didn't. For an exclusively multiplayer game, there aren't many engaging interactions beyond voice chat. You aren't able to paint others, the player models are nearly identical, and there aren't any additional challenges beyond, well, hiding. Despite that, it works flawlessly. Having your player as your own canvas both shares your creativity and allows for seamless interaction with others. Each person is limited only by the span of their imagination, and I guess their artistic skills as well, but I digress. Had the developers decided to add unique and complex features, sure, it would have made the game stand out more, but it would inevitably lose its charm. And, unfortunately, we've seen this far too often with games we once loved, where the creators would lose touch with what made their games so special. As such, their communities end up drifting away, which is exactly the opposite that is happening with Meccha Chameleon. Rather than the devs working against the community, they're working in unison. They add simple, quality of life updates that keep the game's spirit intact, while the community innovates and creates new, premium maps. You can find hundreds of experiences, many of which are inspired by other video games, like Minecraft, Counter-Strike. You can even find examples of Peak and Lethal Company. Granted, you are at the mercy of the lobby's host, and their peculiar preferences. Why would you make this? What the fuck? But it is this partnership between the devs and the community that makes the game so beloved. Meccha Chameleon shows how enjoyment isn't dictated by the complexity of a project. Simple things work, and this is just another example of it. You don't have to be an artist to enjoy a game about painting. You don't need to fix something that isn't broken. Time has come to show that what makes the game thrive is the work of the community. And, if given the proper tools, the player base is able to innovate and expand the game far beyond its original expectations. So let us see how this thesis applies on our favorite upcoming games. Who knows, perhaps a new era of gaming may be upon us. And hey, if you love these indie games, do make sure to check out my other video about the weirdest co-op game I've ever played. It's a banger.